And if you could all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing, our invitation tonight will be brought by Reverend Andy Frazier with the Admonishment United Methodist Church. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will you bow with me? God, we thank you for this chance to meet together tonight. We pray that your presence would be in this place. God, we thank you for the women and men in this room who are willing to spend their time in this way, being a voice for the community. God, as we come together in dialogue tonight, let us listen well, even as we speak too. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andy.
All right, moving right along to our first item on our agenda tonight, which is a high honor. I'd like to have Patricia White. Oh, you're going to take pictures? Okay. It's not very often that we get to recognize a community member for their service to our community, but at a state level. So it's my honor to recognize Mrs. Willicke as the Northeast Kansas Library System Super Volunteer Award winner. Patricia's volunteered at the library for the past 5 years for a variety of events. She started by helping with our Jazz on the Lake fundraiser, by soliciting auction items for the community and delivering flyers, helping during events on all kinds of things. She's also been very involved with the coding club. She and her family purchased some coding robots, toys, and got the iPads at the library to work, and researched how to put on a coding class, and it was received very well. In fact, the first class was at capacity, and the two others they made also went to capacity. So we have a lot of coders. Whenever the library needs something, she's there to help with anything. She also promotes the library wherever she goes on social media and has been a huge advocate for the library. To say Patricia is indispensable is an understatement. Blue Bash and the Young Child Fair have been the most two successful library events in the past few years, and most of the credit goes to Patricia and her family for that. We feel very lucky to have her as a library volunteer and also to have her come to consider her as a friend. You won't find a more generous or genuinely kind person than her, and she is definitely Bonner Springs' super volunteer. Wonderful. And there you go, is our certificate of recognition.
Part of that's because of Mrs. Wood. She was a wonderful teacher.
Wonderful work.
Which, thank you, dear.
From the library that is
She was a
nominated
good
her, so
student.
thank you all very much. We can do it in English is all because of you. That's
the homework which wins.
moving along to items that are not on tonight's agenda or the citizens' opportunity to address those items. This is an opportunity for citizens in the open council meeting to address the city council about issues that aren't on the agenda this evening. You're welcome to stand and make a comment if you would like. The actions will be investigated, researched appropriately, and if deemed necessary, put on a future agenda. Anyone like to stand and address the city council this evening? Please step forward to the podium and state your name and address.
My name's Jason Crone. I live at 13110 Heritage Drive here in Bonner Springs, Kansas. I'm going to go ahead and read this so that I can get all my comments out and I don't forget anything.
Sure. Would you be able to give us a copy of that?
I do. I have copies for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. But I'd like to read them first before handing them out.
Sure.
And Mr. Mayor, I would ask that I be allowed to read my entire letter to you guys. I'm anticipating it taking about 5 minutes.
Certainly.
And it's just front and back. I want to start off by saying I'm going to challenge you today. That doesn't mean that I don't respect you as a council or as individuals, but believe we can be a better Bonner Springs than has recently been showcased. Skip Dobbs is my friend. I go on vacations with him. I've spent time at his house. He spent time at mine. We know each other and we care for each other's well-being. I want to express my concerns for his abrupt termination with the city of Bonner Springs. Admittedly, my opinion is biased, but I've taken the time to talk to him about this situation through multiple extensive conversations. He has not asked that I've come here before you to speak on his behalf, but I've asked for his permission to use that information we have discussed. I do this because I care. If it were legal for me to discuss the situation with the city manager, I would have done so as well. So as we sit, there are only 9 citizens of Bonner Springs that can get both sides of this story. You, the city council, and mayor. I understand that the vagueness of the language in the personnel manual and guidelines allows the city manager to make decisions like this, but that doesn't make it the right thing to do. My first question for you is, how many of you have called Skip and talked to him about his termination? I can answer that by saying 1. Here's his new phone number, 913-901-7776. How can you have an opinion or make a decision about this matter if you haven't had both sides of this story? Improper workplace conduct. This is the terminology that was used in his termination letter. What does that mean? If it's behavior or supervision that not everyone in the office agrees with, then that should be an item that requires counseling. Meaning, an effective supervisor will work with his director to correct issues. Items will be added to annual evaluations to correct, not immediate termination. As much as I disagree with our current city leadership, I would never ask that anyone be let go without an opportunity to find a new job while still being paid and have access to benefits. Which brings me to my next point. If an employee does something illegal, I'm in favor of termination. But if that happens, there should be an immediate police investigation to follow. If not, and separation needs to occur, then the employee should be given appropriate opportunity to find a new job. Speaking of police, why did we need 5 police officers involved with Skip's removal from his office? I don't even agree with one being present at his termination meeting, as he has not shown any behavior in his employment to warrant this action. What in Skip's track record required this? And why did 3 of them need to be present for the rest of the afternoon, escorting him to and from his car in front of a youth camp and pickleball players? I would argue that this is a misuse of city funds. Is it standard practice to have officers present at all employee terminations? If not, it would need to be now, with this precedent being set. Next, why were you not aware of the impending decision by the city manager? In my world, as in most, no one wants to be surprised, yet you were when you received an email that Skip was terminated. If I were to make a big decision like this, I would make sure that my boss was aware along the way that I was thinking about something big. I would want their full support before making such a drastic decision. Plus, several minds thinking together are always better than one. Instead, this looks like the great and powerful Oz making decisions behind a curtain. You are the eyes and ears in City Hall. Plus, you're the city manager's boss. There's a big difference between micromanaging and staying informed. You need to be able to trust and verify. I'm sure that this will not be received well by all of you. That after tonight, you will hope that this termination business will go away with me walking out the door. That's the chance I take to voice my opinion. But you know what? I'll still respect you and the job that you do. I will still talk fishing with Roger. I will still stop and chat with Tom at the farmer's market. That's what adults do. Everyone can have an opinion and not have it held against them. I'm certain that this is not happening at City Hall. I want what's only best for Bonner Springs. I defend this community to the end. I choose to drive 35 minutes to work every day so that our family can live in this community. Yet we have a city manager that does not have that same interest at heart by living outside the city limits, even though it was a requirement of his job, but modified in Amendment 2 of his contract. KCK is not close enough. Living in the school district is not good enough. It's tough to think of a good reason why we would not want our city manager living within our city boundaries, but in just over 5 months of employment, this amendment was added to his contract. I have some observations that I think can help make Bonner Springs City Council meeting better. First, put a microphone and camera pointed at the staff sitting at the table. There are many times when comments from the table cannot be heard on the YouTube videos that are posted online. Second, each city council member and mayor should have both telephone and email options as a way of contacting them. Speaking before you is an intimidating situation, and not everyone is willing to come before you live. Finally, I ask this of you. Unless you have proof that something illegal has occurred in this situation, Skip Dodge should be given severance package of 1 year that includes pay and full benefits. Does the law require you to do this? No, of course not. Is it the right thing to do? Most would say yes. Do we really want the autonomy of blind faith ruling this city? This is Bonner Springs. This is not how we treat people. Respectfully, Jason Crone.
Thank you, Jason, for your comments.
And there's 9 of you, is that right?
And if you could give one for the city clerk.
Okay, 10. I have 10 copies for you. Would you mind passing those? Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to stand and speak to the city council on the items that are not on the agenda this evening? Seeing none, we'll move along to the consent agenda. The consent agenda this evening includes the minutes from the July 23rd City Council meeting, claims for city operation, Public Housing Authority claims, carnival permit for Chamber Tiblo Days, the league voting delegates for the annual conference business meeting of the Kansas League of Municipalities, and appointments to boards and commissions. Anything to be pulled by the city staff, by the citizens? Questions or clarifications for the council? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Make a motion to accept the consent agenda as written.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Vote, please.
Thompson?
Yes.
Cannon?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Early?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Mackey?
Yes.
Kip?
Yes.
Moving right along to the regular meeting agenda. Item number 1, wonderful opportunity for the public hearing for the 2018 budget amendments and the 2019 budget. We'll go ahead and directly open the, you want to have a staff presentation first and then open the public hearing?
No, we can do the motion.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to open the public public hearing for the 2018 budget amendments and the 2019 budget beginning at 7:45.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. The public meeting is now open. Public hearing is now open at 7:45. We'll move right into a staff presentation.
Mayor, Council, Tilly LaPlante, Finance Director in the city. We're just going to go through some of the important points of the 2019 budget. The budget was published on August 2nd based on council's discussion during budget sessions, and this, after this, we'll approve the budget. The calendar started, we started in May with putting together financial history year-to-date. In June, we met with council on a budget briefing. Based on that meeting, we met with individual budget managers and put together budgets. And then we had 2 work sessions in July discussing the budget and a wrap-up session on July 23rd. At that time, the notice of budget was approved by the council and published in the paper. And tonight, we're conducting a hearing, and after the hearing, the budget will be approved for 2019. And then the city clerk will file that with the county by August 24th. This slide shows a historical mill levy. This shows the city, which this year, the 2018 proposed is actually the mill levy for the 2019 budget. The proposed mill levy is 38.186. That's a 4.5 mil increase in the cities. This shows the other entities, county, school district, community college, and state. The dollar shows how much of a dollar goes to each of those jurisdictions of a taxpayer's tax bill. So with the proposed mill levies of all the entities, the mill levy for Bonner Springs, Wyandotte County citizen would go up about 10.5 mils with our proposed budget. As far as the city property tax goes, 62% of your taxes go to the general fund, 26% to debt service, and 12% to the library. The goals for the 2019 budget were to provide a high-quality services to ensure competitive pay and benefits for employees, to continue our street improvement programs. And this year, one of our goals is to get our operating revenue and expenditures balanced while still maximizing our state, or our cash carryover and our contingency funds that will allow by the state. The council prioritized and gave consensus to increase the mill levy at 4.5 mils in an effort to begin primarily funding the plan for the government services centers. Also, this year and for 2019, we established multi-year capital improvement and equipment reserve plans to fund future, current and future equipment and capital needs. As we've done in the past, we take a conservative budget approach. 10% of our expenditures are budgeted for contingencies, as we have in the past couple of years. It allows for adequate carryover to the following year, and it also eliminates having to do mid-year cuts or if revenues fall or if we have unexpected expenditures. Beginning last year, the cities were given a limit on the amount of tax revenue that could be increased for the budget this year and last year in order to increase past a certain CPI limit with some exceptions like debt service and public safety. There has to be a public vote. The 2019 budget was within the limits and did not require a public vote. The general fund is our major fund. Revenues we're anticipating for 2019 about $620,000 more in revenue. And this is mainly due to a 6.64% property valuation increase. About 3% of that was from current valuations, and about the other 3.6 was due to new improvements and changes in use. Also, motor vehicle taxes, fines, and court costs and interest income added to that increase. As far as transfers that we do from the water, wastewater, and refuse fund to the general fund, we've set that at a 5% of budgeted revenue, and that's what we will do going forward each year. The projected revenue for 2019 is $8,476,000. It's about an 8% estimated increase over what we budgeted in 2018. Where did our revenues come from? 31% of our revenues are generated with sales and use tax, 17% property tax. And for 2019, 27% of ours was carryover from the prior years for reserves, 6% casino revenue, and 6% franchise, and 9% for miscellaneous other revenues. Sales taxes is our second largest tax. Our tax rate is 9.25%. 1/4 of that goes to our emergency services capital, and another quarter goes to a capital improvement fund. This chart just shows the increase in sales tax. In 2017, we added a quarter-cent sales tax that was paying off the library, and it fell off, and that became a general sales tax. So that's why there's the increase from 16 to 17. And with our conservative budget, we usually budget that as being pretty flat going forward. Property taxes, this shows how valuations have changed from 2015 budget year through 2019. Again, there was an increase from 2017 to 2018 of about $4 million, and from 18 to 19 of about $5 million. Expenditures, the impact of the general fund, the EMS fund was combined with the fire department and the general fund. Our capital items we previously budgeted in the general fund. We've now put together the multi-year capital improvement and equipment funds. So those now are budgeted as a transfer from the general fund to those funds and will be used for future and current capital needs. We changed the economic development position in the city manager's department to a community and economic director position in community and economic development department. We removed the building official position, which was unfilled, and we replaced it with contract services. We removed a GIS analyst position, which was unfilled. We moved a portion of the special events coordinator position in the Parks and Rec department to the community and economic development department. We moved the administrative assistant accounting position from the city manager department to the budget finance department, and we changed public works unfilled full-time position to a seasonal position. The general fund expenditure summary, this just shows the actual for 2017, budgeted for 2018, and proposed for 2019. The 2018 shows those contingencies, and 2019 that we budget, and 2018 has several large items for capital in this year's budget. You can see the increase, like in Parks and Rec. We had quite a bit of capital this year in Parks and Rec. Same with Public Works. Those have been, now are shown in the transfers to the multi-year capital and equipment funds. And then the transfers to other funds that used to support the EMS fund, now that is up in the fire department. So you'll see how fire is increased, because that includes EMS. This shows where our expenditures go. Majority goes to police, and then Public Works is 10%. Parks and Rec 7%. Our capital and equipment transfers are 6 to that capital equipment fund is 16%. This is the capital improvement fund that we put together this year. So this will be a working document. It will be approved and looked at each year by the council. So really, 2019 is what we'll plan to use in 2019, but going forward, we'll review it each year. But this is what we discussed with council during our budget sessions. This is the Parks and Rec piece. There's several items there. This is just the capital improvement side. And these are funded by different, a lot of it's through the transfers from the general, but some of them will be funded through special Parks and Rec funds or tourism or different. It doesn't include the enterprise funds, but all the other funds. And then the capital equipment, again, the same, we'll review this each year as well with staff will review it and go back through and relook at priorities, and we'll bring those back to council, and this is kind of a living document that we'll review each year. utilities funds, budgeted carryover from 2018 to 2019. The water fund, we've got about 10 months of operating expenditure carryover, and wastewater about 5 months. We've included in the 2019 budget a 4% rate increase in the water and the wastewater effective April of 2019. There are 2 budget amendments for 2018 which are included in the budget you're approving tonight. Street fund is increased by $425,000, and that was carryover that wasn't used in 2017, that we talked to council about being able to do more street work this year and spend it this year. And then the water fund, again, Cornell, Emerson, Shiley, those water lines have been budgeted for a few years. We're finally able to get those going, so we need to budget them and do a budget amendment for that. And the filter media replacement and electrical for equipment storage structure. I think we've talked to council about those budget items too. That's it. Does anyone have any questions?
Good. Thank you.
That's impressive.
Anything else? Anything from the citizens for or against the public hearing items concerning the budget, please? Yeah, you can, yep.
Travis Lankard, 411 Alcott. You know I like to speak if no one else is going to. So I see the mills are going up, the valuation of properties is going up, water and wastewater are going up. You know, there's a whole lot of up. We have more carryover, we have more money available because of consolidations, and the budget's been improving in how much we have available to spend. And yet, this year's budget seems to increase a lot more of the taxes and rates. So I just didn't know if there was a specific reason for that. You know, if things are looking sunny, then, I mean, why are we doubling down on some of these things? Is my only question, I guess.
There's a short answer. It's the community services buildings that we're doing. The budget would be status quo if it wasn't for that. And we're trying to spread that out over multiple years. The way the buildings are going to come online, we may have some cost savings there too. So this represents just under half of what the total improvements are going to cost. So we're actually doing that out of pocket, more or less. Of course, it's being budgeted over 20 years with the debt service.
Right.
But
and I figured that was the answer, but I mean, can we expect the next half of this to come next year as well? Where, I mean, we're talking about Wyandotte County coming and reassessing everything, and property values going up, which increases how much we're spending overall, and then on top of it, is the next chunk of this coming?
one of the things that has been pretty obvious in Bonner Springs is our mill levy has been so low compared to other taxing jurisdictions in Wyandotte County as well as our surrounding neighbors, and we're still below
Yes.
both the other towns in Wyandotte County. And that economy that we've seen over the last period of years is something that we're having to pay for. We've seen this economy for long years. We've made do with police stations that were used because that's what we had, and from one place to another. And those right now the police are, as you know, in Plan B, which is cohabitating with the fire department. Not a perfect situation, but a blessing to Bonner Springs that we have those facilities that we could utilize in that manner, and not having to bring in a mobile trailer like surrounding neighbors do. So, not that that's bad, I'm just saying that
Well,
we
yeah,
have
no, and I understand, like, this is bringing us more in line with where, you know, obviously in Wyandotte County, everyone feels a pinch.
yes.
But at the same time, we seem to be quick in the city to throw out tax incentives and rebates and various deals for businesses, and yet we seem to have a lot of businesses moving out, remaining unfilled, so a lot more of the burden sits with the citizens.
It certainly appears, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, just the next time we have a development firm come in and start asking for things, could this be remembered, I guess, that we pay our tax bill every year, and we're being asked to pay more each year.
Right. Very good, very great question. Our incentive program is a comprehensive incentive program, and I'm sure, as you're aware, the incentives are just one portion of that, and they're not all, the city doesn't go out of pocket for any of those developments, or it hasn't been our case in the past. And so I think it's a very professionally run incentive program. Unfortunately, it comes, some of the losses in our small community come at a time that it's more apparent than ever before. However, those buildings are still paying the same taxes. With the sales tax is different, but the property tax is all the same. So there are changes, and Bonner Springs, if one thing they've always done is change, and it will continue to change. The faces may appear a little different, but we'll continue to be a great small community with changes like are affecting downtown Bonner right now. There's a lot of potential in Bonner Springs, and we have a lot of interested people that are looking to do that. The other, you mentioned about the wastewater and the water bills. Yes, they are going up, and yes, they'll continue to go up. Our biggest asset in Bonner Springs are our streets. We've spent $1.4 million on street renovations this year, and 20% of the streets were affected. That's very important. We're looking at an amendment to continue that work, or to be a part of that work. The water system is just as important, and I know we've had issues with clarity, and we have to continue to invest in our water system. It's part of our identity. Bonner Springs has their own water department, and it's not cheap either. So every single penny is evaluated for both the pro and the con. And I think our finance department is as conservative as we need. I was going to say survive, but that's not the right word. Conservative as we need. And I appreciate your concern, and I expect everyone to continue to look at all of these directly, but I think all of these issues are being professionally
and sometimes, and I know a lot of these things, but sometimes it's nice to hear out loud. And the other thing I would maybe ask for is that if there's an incentive program, maybe look at not necessarily the property owners, but people who might want to start a small business or bring something into our community.
We have some programs that do that for small business. You can reach out to Sean and get, and that might be a great article. But they assist with things like with signage and dumpster screenage and return of some utilities over the first 6 months. So it is a great program, very underutilized, and it needs some championing.
Okay.
Even more so if the building has been vacant for a period of time. So yeah, it's
good to know.
Yeah, lots of information out there. Thank you. Anyone else who'd like to stand and speak in favor or against? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing now at 8:07.
So moved.
Seconded.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing for the budget is closed. And we'll go on to item number 2, which is to approve the 2018 budget amendments and 2019 budget and establish maximum expenditures. Staff, do you have anything to add? Nope. Then I would entertain a motion to adopt the 2018 budget amendments and the 2019 budget.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to adopt the 2018 budget
amendment and the 2019 budget.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions, concerns, comments, starting down here. Sir? Yeah, please.
I just wanted to thank you for your comments, because I've gotten a lot of personal comments from people as well, saying that we're yes people, and nobody gets, I mean, people don't come to the workshops and things like that as often as I would personally like, or as I mentioned to people. And it does help that you ask those questions and be the scapegoat for asking them, so that they can see we are talking about those and bringing them up. And it's not, we don't just yes through everything. It's just there's a lot of things that we go through, and a lot of the meetings and workshops that we do that aren't always rolled into a YouTube video. We need to do like snippets or something, and like synopsises of them, so that we can be able to convey that. But thank you for being our scapegoat for it. Appreciate it. There you go.
What he said, plus, wow, the numberability for you.
Ma'am?
Thank you for making it as easy as possible to understand.
I might add just a couple points to what you were saying to address Travis. I think it's important to note that even though we may not yet need those funds for the building, we're going to head and start collecting those, and they can go into the capital improvements fund, and they will actually start building, which means now when we move forward with construction, we have funds that we can then reduce that bond amount, which could reduce the overall level. Another note is you were talking about the sewer and the water. It's important to note those are enterprise funds. They have to rerun as a separate business. They can't come out of the general fund, so they have to pay for themselves.
So that there was already an increase.
Right. But they have to pay for themselves and can't draw from the general fund at all, and vice versa. Nothing from those can go into the general fund.
Nothing else? Nothing else? Very good. Seeing none. Vote, please.
Reeves?
Yes.
Cannon?
Yes.
Kemp?
Yes.
Mackey?
Yes.
Gurley?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
I think the mayor would get to vote after all that. Thank you all for all your time, the staff for all their input, as well as all the questions. It's an honor to be here and work through these things. It's part of life in the big city of Bonner Springs. Moving on to regular meeting agenda item number 3, the comprehensive plan change, BSCP number 33 for the fuel house. Staff.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Don Sloan, City Planner. This is the first of 2 items, comprehensive plan change for the fuel house. This is the old mill property that everybody's very familiar with, I know. The property's been abandoned for a number of years, and it's been amazing to me personally, having been there for over 14 years, of what they've been able to accomplish down there. We met with the owners, Wiley Salisbury, and the rest of the individuals who own it, Bob Mayers representing them tonight, to kind of determine what their end game was. Out of that came the recommendation for the C2 zoning, and in order to accomplish that, one of the steps is the comprehensive plan change. So that change before you tonight comes to you unanimously from the Planning Commission, along with my recommendation to change the future land use map from industrial to commercial. First step. Glad to answer any questions.
Very good. Thank you. Anything to add before we get into the meat of it? Thank you very much for your patience tonight. I know there's some big ticket items. Seeing nothing else to add, anyone else? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the comprehensive plan change to the future land use map from an industrial to a commercial designation.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions, concerns, comments, starting down here.
Glad to have you. I'm just happy to see that the one neighbor that did speak to him was very happy to see it going forward. So it's always good to have neighbors' approval.
Oh, yeah.
Great stuff. Look forward to having you here. Thanks.
Very much.
I appreciate so much when old buildings are used and brought up to date and still living.
Welcome.
Thank you for investing in Bonner as well as in some of our historic buildings and helping us revitalize a much-needed area. Appreciate it, guys.
Looks great. Glad you're here.
Very good. There's no other questions, concerns, comments. I'll have a vote, please.
Shannon?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Mackey?
Yes.
Kip?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Burley?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes. On to item number 4, rezoning the BSZ 141, the Fuel House. Staff.
Again, Mayor Don Sloan, City Planner. This comes with 2 conditions, essentially, again, with their in-game, the C2 zoning best fit their uses. Some of their uses are apparent now, some are planned in the future from that. So it also comes to you tonight with a unanimous recommendation to the Planning Commission to essentially downzone the property from an I-2 heavy industrial zoning to a C2 general business district. Classification subject to the 2 listed conditions. They are in agreement with that, so glad to answer any questions.
Very good, thank you. Anything to add? Please.
Bob Mayer, representing. I want to say first that it's been a pleasure working with your city staff, Don and Sean and all. And I know, as Don mentioned, they've had them there at the Fuel House. And as you know, and I appreciate your comments about historic preservation, because that's exactly what this is about. These gentlemen, lady, have taken a lot of their personal capital and investment to make this happen, and we hope that this will be a partnership with the city. And one of the things that was made clear, but we would certainly welcome having you all, after this is done, to be able to come tour the building and see what it is. So thank you for your initial support, and we appreciate going forward.
Thank you very much. Seeing no other comments, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve an ordinance to change the future land use map from an industrial to a commercial designation and change the official zoning map from I-2 heavy industrial district to a C2 general business district classification.
Second.
Moved and seconded, and we'll start down here, trying to flip-flop. Anything to add?
Glad this is happening.
Yep, sir.
Nothing additional.
Nothing additional.
Once again, just thank you guys for investing in Bonner. Appreciate you being here and taking the time, and once again, as you mentioned, invest in the personal capital.
We're excited. We're really excited about what we've got going.
Love the pictures. It's good.
Nothing else? Vote, please.
Stevens?
Yes.
Mackey?
Yes.
Burley?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Kip?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes. Yeah, I got to vote twice. Congratulations. Yeah, we do appreciate that you're here and investing in our community.
He gets to vote on zoning.
We all appreciate it. Looking forward to it. A lot of people are interested in that old building, so a lot of people will drive by just to see what's going on. So keep it up. Thank you all very much.
Will do. Thank you, sir.
Moving along to item number 5, acquisition of police vehicles. Staff.
Mr. Mayor, council members, Billy Knapp, Chief of Police, here tonight to request authorization to purchase and equip 3 additional police cars. We were contacted on June 13, 2018 by our providers for the Ford utility vehicles and provided notice that Ford's changing the way that they're purchasing and selling police cars. They're eliminating the production and use of all Taurus police models or police car models. Ford's eliminating cars pretty much completely, with the exception of the Mustang. As such, we been working with the city manager over the last almost 2 years now, and we kind of standardized our police models to the Ford Police Utility and developed a comprehensive replacement program. With the change in how they have to order things, we have a deadline to place an order by September 21st to be able to even get a car. Right now that order is picking up drastically with everybody trying to get their orders in just for 2019, which could push them back depending on how late you get into 2020. I talked to Ford today, and they're estimating 4 to 6 months for delivery on current vehicles. So, again, a request to purchase 3 police cars, 1 for patrol, 2 for investigations, the emergency lighting equipment, and the graphics for 1 of the vehicles for a total of $141,168.60.
Pretty good. Anything else? Anything from the citizens? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I authorize the purchase of 3 2018 Ford Police Interceptor utilities from Shawnee Mission Ford and the purchase and installation of emergency vehicle equipment and graphics.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Now we'll have questions, concerns, comments, and we'll start down here with Mr. Shannon.
Nothing.
Sir?
I'm just happy to see that we're updating the police force and we're getting up to date with the times, and appreciate all the work that you continue to do.
Why is there a sudden all police emergency vehicle graphics will be the same? Will that be across the country? And
We standardize our graphics. Our graphics, when I got here, we actually had 2 different types of graphic schemes going. So we had a company, and they're actually, they own the image rights to that graphic scheme that we started putting on all the cars.
And is that, it looks very professional and easily recognizable as police vehicles. Is that your intent to do that across not just our community, but across other communities?
Most police departments, I would say, yes, have a standardized graphic for all police cars. As in this case, special service cars generally look a little different, just based on their functionality and what they're being used for, which is why we only request graphicing 1 this time.
So these are car types, not utility?
These are utilities.
So these are 3 new utility on top of the ones we just got?
Correct.
And so even the detectives won't be cars anymore, they'll be utility?
Correct. And part of that reason is the increased equipment that they carry around. That's one thing that we've done since my coming on here is we've evaluated the equipment they have at their disposal and what equipment should be, and kind of pulled everything out of the storage so the citizens can have the benefit of that use of those equipment.
That's great. One other thing, this $141,000 will be budgeted in next year's, or in 2019?
This would come out of general fund monies that we have available to spend this year.
Oh, very good. Great. And then with all of these cars being within a year, the cycle plan puts a whole bunch at one time, or do you spread that out?
Right now, we're on about a 5-year replacement plan on patrol vehicles. Specialty vehicles, we can kind of extend that because they're not ran as consistently as the other one. Our oldest car in the fleet after this will be the animal control van, which was purchased in 2009. The other cars, the next cars we will need to purchase, it looks like we'll be back on 2 cars in 2020.
Very good. I just didn't know if we're going to have, because it's with these 3 and the 3 before, we're going to get hit all the time, but spreading it out is great. It seems like we just bought the animal control. Man, I remember when I was sitting out here and showing it off, so. Sorry. One of those old timer things. That was, we're down to me. Ma'am, do you have anything?
Why Shawnee Mission Ford? Is it a bid situation, or are they an authorized dealer for this type of vehicle? Or?
We looked at both the state contract and the MARC contracts. The MARC contract was the cheapest one this year, and they're the winner of the MARC contract right now.
Thank you.
Nothing.
Sir?
I just had a quick question out of curiosity. I noticed the patrol vehicle has a replacement year, projected replacement year, farther out than investigations, and I would think that those put a lot more mileage.
It's a typo. Those should be switched.
Gotcha. So it should be 26 and the other should be 29.
Right.
Just proves we're reading.
Okay, now that makes sense.
wow.
Gee, I'm glad you cleared that up.
Well, he cleared it up, I didn't.
Anything else? Seeing nothing else, I'd I'd ask for a vote, please.
Shannon?
Yes.
Gurley?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Becky?
Yes.
Kip?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Very good. On to item number 6, the Santa Fe Shite Water Line. Staff?
Rick Seiler, Public Works Director. Good evening, Mayor. City Council, this item pertains to the Shite Water Line, which we spoke previously about. It's a design engineering contract with Wilson Company, our city engineer, not to exceed $32,600 for the design and bid documents for that project, which is currently estimated at $500,000. This was an amended item that was on the budget amendment tonight also. We're recommending approval of the agreement as written. She had a copy of it.
Very good. Thank you. Anything, questions, comments from the citizens?
Left.
Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve design engineering agreement with Wilson & Company for an amount not to exceed $32,600.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions, concerns, comments? And we'll start down here. No?
Just out of curiosity, items on the agreement itself, items 2 and 3 talks about the hourly fee for additional services and then reimbursable expenses. Do they still fall within that 32.6 cap, or are those beyond that? Those are beyond. Additional services would be additional services that we need. Okay. Reimbursable expenses are such things as... But they'd fall outside that 32.6. Okay. That's it.
Nothing. I can't believe how much has to be read and dealt with these things. The draft. That's all.
No questions?
No. I think, seeing no other questions, concerns, comments, I'll ask for a vote, please.
Becky?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Kip?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Gurley?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Very good. On to our reports, the first of which is the city manager's report.
Just one general note to all the drivers and marshals to be mindful as this we start on Thursday, so open houses and such tomorrow, and other than that, I have nothing beyond the written report.
Very good. City council items, and I forget which way we started, so I'll start down here.
Yeah, Moore Street is wonderful. Thank you.
It is. Yeah.
One of the comments made tonight was about a microphone for that table up there so we could hear. That would be a good idea. Like that idea. Also, Sean, again, I know we've mentioned this last time, but I've been out of town now, so the nuisance ordinance, I'm quite sure you're surprised that I asked that. Is that coming forward?
Here's the hot plate.
We have not yet heard back from the city attorney, so we will diligently working on getting that addressed. I know we are all very optimistic that it'll get done later as out for our
Yes, I know the problem that I'm aware of isn't the only problem in the city, and maybe isn't even the worst, but it's one of the worst. And so we're just looking forward to those things. And thank you for all you're doing on that, and thank the city attorney for his progress. That's a suggestion. That's a request.
Wow, don't bite your tongue.
Close to retirement, aren't you?
That's all I have.
Very good, thank you. Sir?
I was just going to comment on City Manager's report, item 6, on the FEMA assistance to firefighters grant. And I think it's important to just make note of that and to thank all the different jurisdictions that have worked hard, our staff, fire department. And publicly, I want to make sure that we also thank Edwardsville for their taking the lead in writing the grant.
Very good.
On the new Ace Hardware, I'm glad to see that's coming in. It includes a pet supply and Hallmark. Is that inclusive within the Ace Hardware, or are those standalone businesses?
It would be inclusive within the footprint of the building, so they'll be within the Ace Hardware as you walk in. I think they'll have 2 separate wings, I'm assuming. That would have both of those supplies there.
Interesting. Thank you.
Is the church issue going to be taken care of?
It's going to require a little bit of work. I had a conversation with the pastor a few weeks ago or after our meeting, and we discussed what needed to happen, and the issue being that this is an ordinance establishing that road as no parking on that side of the street. So in order for that to change, obviously it would have to come back before you all to change that no parking designation there. There's some complications with that, specifically for the emergency traffic flow through that area. So we're going to have to look at either keeping it the way it is, changing it, which would be allowing traffic or parking to be on both sides, or to move the no parking to the other side of the street. So obviously there's complications with either one of those options. We haven't been able to sit down necessarily and go through all those things and vet them yet.
Appreciate you continuing to work on that. Anything else, ma'am?
No, sir.
Congratulations on the ICMA credentials. That's a good job on it. Congratulations. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sir?
I wanted to comment on Jason coming in, Jason Crone, and telling him thank you for making those comments and bringing them up, as well as a quick mention that I at least back my city's thoughts and research, as well as Sean professionally. I think he gets thrown under the bus with a lot of things, with the haunted house, as well as this issue. And I already mentioned once tonight, we don't yes easily through things. Just like that instance was months and months of research, and it wasn't quickly ran through. I've had people approach me on the street, as well as many different calls and emails and things, and I can say personally, Skip has been very kind to myself as well as my girlfriend whenever I first got on council, but professionally, we have to do what's best for the city. And after reading the documentation that the city has compiled, I don't have any comments on that because it was pretty cut and dry. And I would like to mention that because it keeps the city, as well as Sean, keep getting thrown under the bus for it. And we have to do what's best for the city, not always what's best for our personal views or personal relationships. But we've got 7,200 or 7,400 people to look after, not just ourselves.
78.
With that, I will close. Or I might be totally, oh, sorry, 78. I'm off on my numbers.
Thank you.
Luckily, that was the worst part of my whole comment, the 78. But yeah, with that, I close, and I at least say that I do support my city staff, as well as there was a great deal of research that went into this for everybody that continues to ask. It wasn't a quick thing, as well as it wasn't a quick thing, I believe, on the behalf of council. We all went through it and read through all the documentation, and it was very cut and dry.
Thank you.
I'll pass.
Sir?
Kelly, thank you. Good budget. Appreciate it. Yeah, I know it's hard work, but it was a good, okay. Let me see. Tyler, good budget. How's that? I'll pass it. No, anyway. Sean, thanks. I was going to congratulate him too. So 2 congratulations. How's that? Chief, thanks for all you do. This is great, and I know it's a big expense, but it's surely needed. So thanks.
I would like to add one. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
But you mentioned the police and the graphics. We're having quite an opportunity to see the graphics on the police cars lately, I've noticed. For anybody who ever wants to say that the police just sit in a coffee shop, they ought to be on 32 or down Morse or lots of places.
You're
And
seeing
here-
them in your rearview mirror.
I'm seeing them waiting off at but it's here at the beginning of the school year. It's very important, and it's so good. So I'm glad to see you.
Hey, Mike, we painted a picture of a police car on your rear view mirror.
So if Chris has got personal experience with the light packages on those.
Yeah. Well, moving on to the mayor's report, I appreciate all all the council's work, and as well as the city staff. The budget process is a process that we take very seriously and work our way through every year. And I thank all the input and would greatly appreciate more community input and information getting out to the citizens. This is very important, and it does, on face value, look as though everything's going up. But when you look at the needs and what the costs and what the value we get from this, and compared to our neighbors, we're very well managed and budgeted, so I appreciate that. Thank you again, Tilly, Finance Department, Sean, award-winning budget last year, and I'm sure this one will get even higher acclaim, so thank you very much. Moving along with acclaim, it was mentioned, but the ICMA Credentialed Manager Award. Now, this is, it is great to have a young professional that is receiving these continued accreditations, but this is not just one to sneeze at. This is a upper level accomplishment that takes a lot of work and is highly regarded by the entire profession. So thank you, Sean, for your input to that, and thank you for continuing to support continuing education in our staff. Yes, oftentimes all of us get thrown under the bus for this reason or that reason. When you sign your name on the line to get elected or run for an office, and when you choose to take a job in the public sector, that comes with the territory. We all expect it. We know that that's going to happen, and I welcome it, because it's often just a lack of information, and that's the biggest thing I can do, is provide individuals with this information. You alluded to the comments made at the beginning of the meeting, and yes, I'm very appreciative of anyone who would like to come and address the City Council. There's been a request for a motion to go into executive session that I'll bring forward at the end of my comments, but it doesn't go without saying that these issues have been researched, investigated, and documented. And we have been apprised of these situations. Our silence to others may be perceived as our lack of knowledge, but it is actually our requirement that we not discuss personnel issues in public. So as much as it is difficult, we've signed our name on the line to do this. So that's part of it. That doesn't happen very often. But moving along, we're just about, we finished this summer season with the band concerts that was so well received. The city of Bonner Springs is better for having the city band, and I look forward to that being supported for many more generations. So I'm so proud of our city band and the improvement to our quality of life that it makes here in Bonner Springs. I don't want there to be any question about that, and I enjoy being the small little part of it that I am.
Don't underestimate your value.
I know, because it's very important to have time to catch your breath. That's what I'm told. Also, I have received nothing but compliments on the increased level of police interaction with our citizens and visitors to our community regarding some of theirs lack of restraint and speed in the city of Bonner Springs.
So well put.
It is being very well received and recognized. So thank you. I know that's a hard, it's a double-edged sword. Nobody's happy to get a speeding ticket, but the citizens of Bonner Springs appreciate the increased level of officers on the street, or so it seems. I don't know if that's actually the case, but they're more visible and seen doing these things with speed enforcement is probably the thing that worries me the most. Or, I'm sorry, I always am under the speed limit, but it does sometimes worry me.
Except for other counties.
Yeah, coming down Nettleton is hard. And also, I'd like to take just a minute to encourage people not only to be watchful with school starting again, but to continue to buckle up. It takes just a second, and it'll make everyone safer if you'll just use your seatbelts. My day job, it's painfully obvious when that happens and can have a catastrophic effect. So please use your seatbelts too. I don't know, that's something that can be enforced also, so I appreciate that. Thank you. Tiblo Days is coming up. Let's go ahead and have Tiblo Days this year.
Hey, can we?
Yeah, I don't think we need a motion. I think let's just do it.
Yeah.
But I look forward to having everyone at the Mayor's Banquet, and that'll be on Friday evening at the high school this year. We'll get to see some of their improvements. Of course, they're not all done yet, but we certainly appreciate the high school allowing us to, or them hosting that up there and in conjunction with the Rotary. There's a lot of new things with Tiblo Days this year. Some things seem very similar, but there's an additional 5K run this year. I've heard that the Tiblo Trot is the oldest running race in Kansas.
Wow, cool.
Whoa.
It's a tough one.
Yeah, and
I've heard from people who were.
a claim to fame no one else can have. I guess it can be argued. Also, yeah, thank you for recognizing the fire department and the breathing grant that we got and being able to gang on with the other communities. You want to talk about things that are expensive, and some of those breathing packs that they've had, they've used for way too many years, and they work, but then you have to replace them. So it's there's lots of things that cost a lot of money, and those are very important. Other than that, seeing no other items, unless I have any questions of me, I would like to ask for a motion to go into executive session pursuant to I'd like to go into executive session to discuss non-elected personnel matters pursuant to the exception of KSA 75-431A and B1. The meeting will resume in the council chambers at 9 p.m.
What he said.
in 20 minutes.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. Thank you all for coming. You're welcome to come back at 9 o'clock.
Did you see the
And we'll just ask that Sean and